Hello, I'm Eric. As a couple of you watching this video may already know, in November of 2020, I came out with a self-produced record simply titled Brooklyn Bridge. I put it out on the first anniversary of my father, Steve Gordon's passing, which was November 10th, 2019. The previous summer, I received this guitar, which is sort of referred to in certain circles as a PartsCaster. It was assembled from previously used Fender Stratocaster parts. The big differences between it and most standard models is this pick guard, or scratch plate as British people call it. Instead of being built with a 5-position blade switch and 2 tone controls, it has a single tone control and a volume control. It has different selectors for the pickups and phase cancellation switches. The pickups themselves are miniature versions of the Burns TriSonics pickups that were built into the Brian May Red Special back in 1964. Just about every single replica of Brian's guitar includes similar pickups, if not identical ones. I had this guitar built for me as an alternative to getting the Brian May Red Special. It is September 2023 as I make this video, and I am still considering the possibility of getting a Red Special replica, possibly in a different finish. The reason I'm making this video now is because of something I've noticed when watching demonstrations other YouTubers have made of Brian's Red Special or duplicates of it. Everyone who gets one apparently has one express purpose in mind. They're only interested in emulating Brian's sounds. To begin with, I'm going to demonstrate the sound of this guitar, at least minimally demonstrate how it sounds in the position that Brian customarily uses on his Red Special. That's these 2 pickups, middle and bridge position, in phase. That sounds a lot like a typical Stratocaster, doesn't it? The Stratocaster body, unlike that of Brian's Red Special, is solid. Most people don't think about the fact that Brian's Red Special actually has a couple of semi-hollow cavities in it. When he and his father, Harold May, the one who was most responsible for executing the construction of that guitar, were building it, Brian expressly wanted it to have hollow cavities to induce controlled feedback. He could see the future, I guess, or at least deduce what was going to happen when guys like Jimi Hendrix and a whole host of other musicians that succeeded him arrived on the music scene and were creating feedback at high volume and high gain settings. He was going to have an F-hole carved into this part of his guitar, and they just never got around to it. They didn't have the tools, and after Queen struck it in the 70s, Brian simply didn't go back and modify that guitar. But Andrew Guyton apparently has built at least one F-hole version of the Special. Ordinarily what Brian does is what I'm going to demonstrate here. Instead of using a dedicated treble booster the way that he is known for using, I'm using this Rancher Goat generator for my own sustaining system. This was inspired by the Tom Schultz Rockman sustainer module, and in my opinion, it does the job most eloquently in pedal form. Put my chorus generator on from my ME-80. Pardon the noise. This is how Brian ordinarily would do it, using his own arsenal of equipment with the volume control on his Red Special almost all the way off. Etc., etc., etc. And then during the course of the night, he may bring the volume all the way up for playing his own hammer to fall, for instance. That having been said, the real reason I'm doing this video is not to emulate Brian. My purpose in doing this is actually to try demonstrating a few of the other sound generating capabilities that this type of configuration, not just these pickups, but these switches, can be used for. In an interview that he did with Premier Guitar in 2014 during one of multiple Queen with Adam Lambert shows, Brian said that just to use these two pickups on the outside in series would give it the sound of a Gibson ES335. On this model, my homemade build, it actually sounds kind of like that of a Telecaster. Of course, most Telecasters haven't got a vibrato arm like this one, so that was sort of surf-like. But that's just something that most musicians that get a Brian May Red Special or one of its approximations wouldn't think to do, because it branches away from what Brian himself does. But I've enjoyed having this particular PartsCaster for doing stuff like that. Now I'll just simply play the bridge pickup for a couple of bars. Now I'll do the sound of bridge, neck and middle. I'm going to take a moment because I realized when I started babbling earlier about my Brooklyn Bridge album from 2020, I left out that this guitar was first played on that particular recording. I had done a couple of parts for the album before 2020, but I basically did 90% of the parts on that album, which is available through YouTube, Apple Music, and Spotify on this guitar. Since those are the first recordings I made with it, I've decided to affectionately call this axe Roebling, after the family who actually designed the Brooklyn Bridge. So then, this is the sound of the neck. Now the two outside pickups out of phase. off this pickup and just have these two out of phase. I actually use this for one little riff on the Brooklyn Bridge record simply called "We Don't Need a Woman," which was not meant to be a chauvinistic thing whatsoever. It was reflecting on the Brooklyn Bridge history, in which people discriminated against this chief engineer's wife being his mouthpiece. Now I'll play neck and middle out of phase. Switch the phase cancellation around. Put on the bridge pickup once again. Sounds more like a banjo, whereas some of the other phase cancellation settings remind me a lot of the electric sitar. Of course, this is just the three pickups together. Has a pretty big sound, just the sound of the three of them together in series. Now with the goat generator going, let's just play that a little bit. For me, at least, that's a whole lot more fun, at least on this guitar, whenever I take it out to play it, than doing what Brian always does when he's in flight, because, to the best of my knowledge, he doesn't need any kind of noise cancellation on his rig the way that I need to, apparently. Back to bridge and middle. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this has been enlightening for any of you out there who, like me, have been watching demonstrations made of the Brian May Red Special only in the attempt to emulate Brian's tone and his signal chain. I thought this might make a good way of exploring other possibilities with this type of pickup configuration. The switching and all the tone shaping options that you can have with the same type of instrument. Thanks.